she unexpectedly married a stranger for her sister. What was revealed about him was amazing. Sarah could still hear the whispers that echoed through the bustling halls of Sweetwater High. They spread like wildfire, gripping the town's heart with her name at the center, a young teacher, the dutiful daughter, marrying a man she barely knew. Uncertainty crawled under her skin. Was this truly for Lily? Or had desperation tangled her judgment? As she stood in her quaint little classroom, the vibrant posters and untouched lessons felt more like ghosts of what could have been. The weight of expectation pressed heavily on her chest as she endeavored to anchor her sister's hopes. Lily lay in that hospital bed, fragile and full of dreams fading yet fiery, a shimmering wish to marry the boy next door, the one she loved from afar. But how could Sarah, the older sister and now breadwinner, facilitate that dream when Lily's accident had left them in a dark abyss? The guilt gnawed at Sarah, intensifying her urge to find any means to lift her sister's spirit. Marrying a stranger made her stomach churn. That impulsive decision tugged her conscience, like a wild card in a game rigged against her heart. "You'll be happy again, Lily, I promise," Sarah whispered at her sister's bedside, though her own heart trembled with doubt. The truth was, she didn't know if marrying Jake, an unlikely partner who worked as a custodian, would elevate their lives. Common wisdom painted him as ordinary, but there was something captivating beneath the surface. How did he manage to be so unassuming, yet harbor an artistic spirit so vivid it dazzled? The images on canvas he shared revealed a depth that sparkled brighter than any fantasy. As the dread of their unconventional union settled in, Sarah felt a shift in her classroom. A buoyant inspiration gripped her lessons, igniting her passion for teaching again. But the same forces that cheered her also watched, scrutinizing her every move. Whispers of judgment became a chorus. Questions about Jake's worthiness darted around the community like thorns amidst the roses. Heart racing, Sarah caught snippets. What does he have to offer? And isn't this all a ridiculous charade? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Sarah thought they might find solace in togetherness, Jake's revelation struck her like lightning. He shared a bond with Lily's crush, a tenuous connection to a past riddled with despair. The unfolding complexity clawed at her mind. Was this sacrifice truly noble? Was she restoring her sister's dreams, or hiding from her own? Unraveling uncertainties tightened their hold around her heart. Could she, as a teacher, a sister, and an impulsive wife, redefine the essence of love and family? The stakes climbed higher with every question she hesitated to confront. Every decision weighed heavy. As she stood on that precipice, Sarah felt the fabric of her reality unraveling beneath her. This marriage might shatter or transcend expectations, but either way, it settled like an unpredictable storm between them. The doorbell rang, echoing through her thoughts, a singular note that pierced the tension, bringing unexpected news that could reshape everything. Would it be the answer she longed for, or a deeper plunge into chaos? Sarah's breath caught as she approached the door, her heart racing with the low hum of anxiety. The news that waited on the other side felt like a fragile glass ornament, beautiful yet ready to shatter at the slightest misstep. What could possibly await her? With a hesitant push, she opened the door to find a tall figure standing on the threshold. His dark hair framed a face lined with familiar worry. Jake's brother, Eric, his stature imposing yet his expression softer than she expected. "Is Jake here?" he asked, urgency lacing his voice. Sarah's surprise morphed into dread. She hadn't anticipated Jake being in the crosshairs of his past. "I think he is still at work," she replied, her voice steady despite the tumult within. "Can we talk?" Eric's eyes were sharp, intense with a need for resolution. "Of course," Sarah replied, gesturing for him to step inside. The air crackled with tension as he crossed the threshold, the weight of what was unsaid pressing against them both. Settling into the living room, Eric wasted no time. I know what Jake is trying to do for your sister. But you need to understand the layers of this situation. There was an unspoken invitation in his words, the promise of revelation. Sarah's instinct was to protect her choices, to stand by Jake despite the whirlwind. But curiosity tugged at her. Would knowledge bring clarity or more chaos into her life? Lily deserves happiness, she began, but Eric cut her off. He deserves the truth. His gaze darkened. What you don't know is that there's more connection between Jake and your sister's crush than you realize. The statement slapped Sarah with shock. What do you mean? He and Alex were best friends once, but it spiraled into something darker. He moved away for a reason. Eric's voice faltered, and she could see the burden of secrets weighing heavily on him. As they spoke, Sarah felt the threads of her reality fray. This wasn't just about her sister anymore. This was about Jake, it was about choices made in shadows, and it threatened her very foundation. Jake never told me any of this, she murmured, more to herself than to him. Because he thinks it might keep you safe, Eric insisted. But it doesn't protect you from the truth. It only complicates things. An escalating urgency stirred within her. Did Jake feel trapped by a past he couldn't escape? It hurt her to think that their marriage, conceived in an act of desperation and hope, might unravel because of a bond she had yet to understand. Why are you here, Eric? To warn me off? Sarah challenged, shifting this conversation from vulnerability to confrontation. No. I need to find out why Jake is backing away from everything, why he is suddenly so committed to this charade. It's not just a marriage. It's a way out for him and a way to take responsibility for Lily's happiness. You're entwined in something you don't fully grasp. Entangled, she corrected, the realization sharpening her purpose. If she wanted to help her sister and understand Jake's true motivations, she had to integrate with this chaos, not shy away from it. Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Could she fish out the truth from the clasping jaws of uncertainty? Would confronting Jake become a crucible for both of them to reveal who they truly were? Are you coming with me? She asked, her voice steady as she stood to face this new path. Yes, Eric replied, determination punctuating his words. We need to confront him and find a way forward. With resolve hardening within her, Sarah stepped into the storm awaiting them. Faced with a complex web of feelings and revelations, she understood that their fragile setup could either shatter or reforge into something more, something stronger. As they ventured toward the door, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. What awaited them could reshape their lives entirely. She turned the knob, a flood of conflicting emotions swirling through her: anxiety, determination, expectation. Would the confrontation lead to redemption, or would it expose fissures she couldn't mend? The path ahead loomed before her, shadowed in uncertainty yet glowing with potential. Would she and Jake emerge resolute from their trials, or would they be swept into deeper chaos? As Sarah stepped outside, a chill wind cut through the air, nudging her towards Molly's unyielding warmth. She felt the weight of Eric's presence behind her, steady yet burdened. Moving forward, the street felt oddly alive, a pulsing entity that mirrored the whirling fog in her head. The uncertainty gnawed at her. Would this confrontation unlock a vault of truths or dig her deeper into confusion? With each step to the car, her resolve crystallized into something sharp and purposeful. Are you sure about this? Eric's voice broke through the fog, grounding her in the moment. More than ever, she replied, surprised by the urgency that colored her tone. It wasn't just about Jake, it was about her life, her sister's happiness, and her newfound identity sandwiched between the two. Getting in the car, she observed Eric's knuckles turn white as he gripped the steering wheel. Did he, too, sense that they were about to breach a threshold of irrevocable change? As they drove, the buildings outside began to morph, sturdy establishments blurred by doubt, much like the barriers she had placed within herself. Do you think Jake cares about Lily? she suddenly asked, her voice barely above a whisper. More than he lets on, Eric responded, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. He often masks his emotions behind decisions that seem protective, but sometimes it's hard for him to see what he truly wants. This resonated with Sarah, reframing her perception of Jake. If he was afraid, perhaps his fear could be countered by her courage. Would revealing the truth coax Jake from his shadows into the light? Arriving outside Jake's office felt surreal. The building loomed before her like a fortress, its solidity implied safety, yet its walls seemed to pulse with the potential for chaos. Eric turned to her, eyes asking the questions she had been pondering. "Ready?" he asked, the weight of the question hanging heavy between them. "I have to be." Her voice was firmer now, filled with a tempered determination. They ascended the stairs with measured steps, her heart echoing against the sterile walls. Each click of their shoes was a countdown to an inevitable confrontation, a collision of past struggles and present decisions. As she stepped inside, the familiar scent of coffee and the low murmur of office chatter washed over her. Jake's office door was slightly ajar, she could glimpse him at his desk, hunched over a file. The sight ignited a mixture of warmth and apprehension within her. How many times had she seen him this way, lost in his world, unaware of the storm brewing just outside? Eric hesitated for just a moment before pushing open the door, a silent invitation to enter the drafty space. "Jake," he called, and Sarah felt like a coiled spring ready to release. Her husband looked up, surprise etched across his features. "Eric? Sarah? What are you doing here?" Caught off guard by the concern lacing his voice, Sarah took a deep breath, unwilling to let herself falter. "We need to talk, Jake. Now." She watched as his features shifted, the shadow of the past flickering in his gaze. Was he prepared for this? "Is this about Lily?" he asked, a guarded tone slipping into his voice. "It's about everything, Jake. Every moment that led us to this together and apart," she countered. A bubbling rage of truth burned inside her, needing to be spoken. The words tumbled from her lips, fueled by fear interwoven with determination. Would unearthing their shared truths catalyze a transformative moment for them all? As she finished, silence filled the room, thick as fog, each second stretching out like a rubber band about to snap. Jake's expression shifted from confusion to something deeper, a flicker of acknowledgement. "Sarah," he began, but a sudden knock at the door interrupted him. The unexpected arrival felt like a shot through Sarah's heart. Who would come now? The moment she had waited for seemed as if it could slip away. Is this the perfect excuse to dodge a conversation? She thought, her grip tightening around the edge of the desk. What will it reveal? She pondered. This confrontation was already spiraling into unexpected territory, but would the door lead to redemption, or was it the harbinger of deeper lies and unknown truths? The door swung open, and in walked a figure who seemed to slice through Sarah's tense anticipation like a knife. It was Mark, Jake's colleague, whose casual demeanor clashed with the clangor in the room. He flashed a bright smile, oblivious to the charged atmosphere, and introduced himself with a jovial energy. "Sorry to interrupt. Got those financial reports you needed, Jake?" Mark chirped, handing over a stack of papers. The sight of him, so carefree, clashed painfully with Sarah's weighty impulses. She felt a wave of irritation wash over her, threatening to drown out her earlier determination. "No problem, Mark. I just need a moment here," Jake replied, not bothering to hide the tension in his voice. Yet as Mark lingered at the doorway, oblivious to the emotional undercurrents, Sarah faced an excruciating choice. Should she seize this moment to forge ahead, or allow this disruption to cloud her resolve? The seconds stretched into an eternity. She could feel the flicker of urgency in her gut. Every bit of her screamed to reclaim the space with her truth, yet her words felt entangled in fear. "Mark, could you, give us a moment?" she finally managed to say, emphasizing the collective weight of her request. Mark hesitated, sensing the seriousness in the air, but complied. Sure, I'll wait outside, he said, concern etching his features as he stepped back, leaving the door ajar. Jake's gaze snapped back to her, a mixture of frustration and confusion flitting across his face. You didn't need to do that. This isn't the time, or I understand you want to protect yourself, Jake, Sarah interrupted, her voice gaining strength from her sudden clarity. But you can't keep hiding behind busy days or distractions. We have to be honest. For Lily. For us. His posture shifted, and she could sense the internal struggle playing across his features. There was fear, yes, but also a willingness to confront something that had been lurking in the shadows for too long. What do you want from me, Sarah? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to know who you really are. We're past pretending. The words spilled out, intense and relentless. I need to know the truth, Jake. How do you feel about Lily? About me? The silence that followed felt heavy, like a dark cloud ready to unleash a storm. She was standing at the precipice, ready to plunge into a turbulent sea of revelations. I do care about Lily. More than you realize, he muttered, his voice thick with a mix of desire and regret. Maybe I'm afraid of that. His admission hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, one wrong move away from shattering. This small ray of honesty buoyed Sarah's determination, and she felt the slightest shift within her. This could be the first step toward the truth. Why are you afraid, Jake? She pressed on, her voice steady now, buoyed by the flicker of understanding she sensed radiating from him. Because the moment you start caring deeply, everything changes. What if I can't be everything you need me to be? The fear of losing everything is paralyzing, he confessed, his eyes narrowing with the weight of such ultimate vulnerability. This was a breakthrough, she could feel the ground shift beneath her feet. His fear mirrored her own vulnerability, was often a risk laden with uncertainty. They were both standing at the edge, peering into their shared abyss. Then let us explore it together. Let us confront that fear, she urged, adrenaline coursing through her. Whatever is hidden can't stay hidden anymore. It's suffocating us and choking our chances of growth. As the words settled, another moment of silence filled the room, an electric pulse of possibility. They stood there, each wrestling with their ghosts, their threads entwined tighter in the fabric of this life they shared. What she couldn't foresee, however, was the knock that followed, louder and more insistent this time, a knock that could very well eclipse this fragile moment of connection. Who is it now? She thought bitterly, dread creeping in as she prepared herself for whatever news might come next. Would it shatter their burgeoning truth or bolster their new resolve? You think you're ready for the truth? Her mind wandered, echoing across the widening chasm between what was and what could still be. Outside, the world continued spinning, oblivious to the upheaval locked within those four walls, waiting as precariously as she was. The tension in the room thickened as the knock reverberated against the walls, a visceral reminder of the chaos that existed just beyond their emotional barricade. Sarah felt her heart race, a rush of anxiety igniting her resolve. She refused to let external disruptions dictate the truth she fought so hard to uncover. Do you want me to get that? Jake broke the silence, his voice a low murmur. Sarah could see the decision swirling in his mind, wrestling between confrontation and retreat. He was on the cusp of facing a reality that could unravel both of them, yet he seemed hesitant to take the plunge. No, she replied firmly, surprising herself with the strength behind her voice. Let us not allow distractions to derail us now. Whatever is happening out there can wait. Jake held her gaze, a sliver of admiration flashing in his eyes, but the uncertainty still lingered. You're sure? I'm sure, she affirmed, the clarity of her intentions sharpening her focus. This moment, Jake, it's crucial for us. If we don't confront this now, when will we? He exhaled, the tension in his shoulders releasing slightly. Perhaps her commitment to honesty was the anchor he needed. All right, he said, a newfound resolve flickering in his expression. Then let us talk. Sarah's heart steadied, bolstered by the recognition that they were finally leaning into their fears together. She inhaled deeply, gathering her thoughts, ready now to peel back the layers that had been left unexamined for far too long. "What do you want from me beyond this moment?" Jake asked, a note of trepidation laced through his words. "I've been half-hearted, going through the motions, avoiding what surrounds us. But I have to ask what comes next for us." "Everything hinges on honesty," she replied, the sincerity brimming in her voice. "We can't measure our future if we can't even face our present realities." "Okay." He looked down, then back up, steadying his voice. "I've been terrified of disappointing you. I've never committed to anything with depth, and now, having Lily in the picture complicates everything. I don't know if I can be the man you need." His vulnerability spilled forth, raw and unfiltered. As he spoke, Sarah felt a growing swell of compassion for his plight. She recognized the roots of his fear intertwined with her own. They had both stepped into unfamiliar territory. Making themselves vulnerable was a shared burden, but there was a flicker of hope to a possibility that, together, they could confront their uncertainty. "Maybe it's not about who we are or what we think we should be," she suggested, emboldened by the connection that was blossoming between them. "Maybe it's about exploring who we can become." Jake's gaze softened, and though uncertainty still danced in his eyes, the tension between them shifted. "Is that even possible?" he questioned, his voice tinged with both skepticism and curiosity. "Yes," she declared, her voice rising with conviction. "But it takes work. It takes courage to face our truth and be willing to risk everything for genuine connection." A flicker of comprehension passed across his face, and Sarah dared to hope. They were treading into choppy waters, but something deep inside her whispered that they could navigate this storm together. Then came another knock, this one forceful and mounting, crashing against the door with a sense of urgency. The reality they had been building began to fracture under its relentless pressure. "This feels like an omen," Jake remarked, his jest lacking its usual levity, eyes narrowing at the door. "How can we truly grow if we let the outside dictate what we do in here?" She countered, unwilling to capitulate to outside forces they hadn't yet come to comprehend. Yet with each passing moment, that door loomed larger, challenging their fragile connection. "What if it's something we can't ignore?" Jake muttered, unease creeping back into his voice. With a potent mix of determination and trepidation, Sarah pressed on, recalibrating her focus toward him. "Then let us not ignore it. Let us face whatever is behind that door together. Ready?" "But..." Before Jake could respond, the door swung open fully, and the figure that stepped inside left both of them momentarily paralyzed with dread. Why had they opened themselves up just to be pierced again? Who stood before them could either thwart their tentative progress or ignite a catalyst for change they were not ready for. The figure in the doorway was a silhouette framed by the harsh fluorescent light of the hallway. As they stepped forward, the details crystallized. It was Lily, her face a mask of panic contrasting sharply with the serene backdrop of Sarah and Jake's emotional moment. The air became charged, and uncertainty crackled between them. "Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt," Lily blurted out, urgency underlying her voice. "I need your help, both of you." Sarah's heart sank. This was not what she had envisioned when she finally felt the weight of honesty resting in the space between her and Jake. The moment of potential transformation threatened to dissolve in an instant. "Now?" Jake asked, incredulity edging into his tone. "Right now?" "Please," Lily pressed, her eyes darting between them, the worry etching deeper lines across her forehead. "I wouldn't come if it wasn't urgent." The dissonance in Sarah's mind doubled as she weighed her sister's desperation against the raw dialogue that had begun to spark a new foundation with Jake. "All right," Sarah conceded, the weight of responsibility anchoring her words. "What is going on?" "A situation at work," Lily began, but the severity of her tone demonstrated this was far more than just a workplace calamity. This had the breadth of a personal crisis. Sarah exchanged a glance with Jake, who mirrored her uncertainty. In that fleeting moment, neither of them could shake the feeling that the past had returned to haunt them. "Let us sit down, just tell us what happened," Jake offered, his voice steady despite the tension gripping him. Lily sank into a chair at the small table in the corner, her hands gripping the edges tightly as if searching for stability. "It's Ethan, he's gone, and I couldn't reach him. I can't do this alone." The threading of their lives took another complicated turn. Ethan, a name synonymous with connection and complications all at once. For Sarah, it stirred a familiar mix of protectiveness over Lily and distress for the wayward paths they all wandered recently. "Ethan left?" Sarah probed gently. "He didn't leave willingly. He's in trouble." Her voice dipped lower, thick with emotion. "They're after him." The room shifted as they processed the ramifications of her statement. This didn't just involve complications of relationship dynamics, it implicated their safety, their livelihoods, and perhaps more importantly, the future Sarah had yet to imagine with Jake, now bolstered by mutual vulnerability. "What do you mean they?" Jake questioned, his focus sharpening as concern dripped from his words. "I don't know. Something about his work, he got tangled in something bigger than he realized." "It's dangerous, Sarah." The reality jagged against Sarah's resolve. She had been ready to embrace a path of self-discovery, one that might include Jake's evolving role in her life, but reality had arrived, demanding her attention once again, challenging her to balance her needs against her sister's urgency. "Okay," Sarah said, her voice gaining strength as clarity emerged amid the chaos. "Let us think this through. First, where did you last see him?" As Lily began to relay the details, Sarah felt an unsettling tug in her gut. Their previous conversation about confronting fears morphed into another kind of confrontation, this time one fueled by an external threat. The layered growth they had just begun was thrust into the balance of pragmatism and urgency. Jake leaned forward, fully engaged now. "We can help find him, but we need a plan. What do you know?" "Everything is tangled," Lily admitted, exhaling sharply. "But we might need to get to the bottom of what Ethan's been working on." In that moment, Sarah confronted the stark reality that personal growth often occurs not in isolation, but rather through action amidst crises. It was no longer about just unraveling her own fears, but about stepping up for something greater. As they joined forces, their budding relationship began to intertwine with the threads of responsibility, history, and survival. They stood on the brink of a decision that would be pivotal not only for Lily but for all involved. But would this crisis strengthen their connection or drive them apart when faced with the harsh truths hidden beneath the surface? The answer would emerge as they dove into the unknown. The tension in the room thickened as Lily recounted the chaos surrounding Ethan's disappearance. As she spoke, Sarah's mind flickered with a sense of foreboding, a stark contrast to the burgeoning realization of her own aspirations just moments ago. Instead of basking in new emotional territories with Jake, she found herself thrust into a complex web weaving familial duty and unexpected dangers. "Tell me what Ethan was working on," Sarah prompted, her voice steadying in the face of uncertainty. "Any details could help." Lily's breath hitched, and she looked hesitant. "He mentioned something about a project involving data security breaches. I didn't think much of it at the time. You know how he gets always knee-deep in encrypted files and technical jargon." "That sounds serious," Jake interjected, his analytical side kicking in. His gaze connected with Sarah, an unspoken agreement passing between them. They needed a clear-headed approach, or they might lose more than they bargained for. Sarah sat up straighter, her resolve solidifying. "Then we start there. We need to find out who might want to harm him over this project." As Lily nodded, shaking off emotion for practicality, Sarah felt a flicker of empowerment coursing through her. This crisis, overwhelming as it was, presented an unexpected opportunity for her to confront her own fears. Perhaps, in a way, tackling this problem could serve as a catalyst for personal growth. "What do you know about his colleagues?" Jake pressed. "Maybe someone in his circle could provide more insight." "He worked closely with a few people," Lily said, reluctantly. But there's one guy, Marco, who always seemed intense. Ethan mentioned a dispute over research papers. Something went wrong between them. Let us find this Marco, Jake suggested, shifting into action mode. Any chance he'll talk to us? If he feels threatened, he might, Sarah countered, already hypothesizing. We need to approach with caution. A palpable sense of urgency enveloped them as they began brainstorming. They exchanged ideas with rapid-fire precision, the chaos morphing into a strategy. This collaboration was igniting something within Sarah, a realization that she could contribute, not just stand in the sidelines, hoping for change. While formulating their plan, Sarah caught glimpses of Jake's unwavering focus. In his steady presence, she found a grounding force, yet she sensed that their previous intimacy was slipping into something undefined, teetering on the edge of survival and personal growth. We'll need a place to meet Marco, Sarah said, her thoughts racing. Somewhere neutral. At that moment, a well of creativity surged in her. Lily, do you think you can get his address or know where he usually hangs out? I can try to get in touch, see if he's willing to talk, Lily replied, her spirits rising with a glimmer of newfound determination. As they worked together, Sarah was struck by the sheer power of commitment. The act of planning instead of merely reacting transformed her. She yearned to take more initiative not just in this moment but also in life, in her relationship with Jake, and in carving her own path. Yet, as they prepared to embark on this uncharted mission, a gnawing doubt crept in. What would happen if they truly began to peel away layers of Ethan's situation? Some truths could tear at the very fabric of their trio. Lily's loyalty was unmistakable, but if uncovering the truth about Ethan meant also confronting hidden complexities in their own lives, could she handle that? Faced with this growing tension, Sarah steeled herself. They were about to dive deeper into an abyss where uncomfortable revelations awaited. Would the journey they were embarking upon expose not only Ethan's predicaments but also buried secrets among themselves? As they set their plan into motion, one thought echoed and lingered: how far were they willing to go to uncover the truth? The answer awaited them in the unpredictable path ahead. As the weight of their decision settled over them like an impending storm, Sarah felt an urgency brewing within. She was stepping into uncharted waters, her instincts guided only by a mix of fear and resolve. Every detail mattered, and she needed to stay sharp not just for Ethan's sake, but for her own growth. Let us regroup and review everything we know about Ethan's situation, Jake suggested, pulling Sarah from her spiraling thoughts. We need a solid foundation before approaching Marco. Right, Sarah replied, clenching her jaw. Ethan's work on security breaches is crucial. If he stumbled upon something big, it could explain why he went missing. But we must tread lightly, it's a dangerous subject. Planning often came naturally to her, especially with Jake's critical mindset complementing her creative thought process. Yet this felt different. Each word exchanged regarding Ethan's fate led Sarah further from her comfort zone and deeper into a maze of risk. Sarah turned toward Lily. Can you identify any specific cases Ethan was involved in? Something that could have drawn attention? I'm not entirely sure, Lily said, frowning in contemplation. But I can check his recent messages and files if you give me some time. Let us start there. Information is our best weapon, Jake replied, a hint of admiration flickering in his eyes. Sarah could feel it motivating her, urging her to dive deeper into this murky situation. As she drafted plans and brainstormed strategies, an internal dialogue sparked within her. This was her moment, an opportunity to step into her own power, to transcend the role she had often felt shackled to. Each decision they made was a bridge toward not only locating Ethan but also unveiling the best version of herself. The next few hours morphed into a whirlwind of phone calls, texts, and an array of digital explorations. Each piece of information brought them closer to Marco, yet also plunged Sarah into a whirlpool of self-doubt. Would they truly be able to handle whatever truths lay ahead? As she worked late into the night, Sarah oscillated between confidence and uncertainty. The project ignited a sense of purpose in her, but questions about where it would lead loomed large. If confronted with Marco, the truth about Ethan's situation might prompt her to face uncomfortable realities about her relationships. Was she prepared for that? Okay, I found something, Lily interrupted Sarah's spiraling thoughts, breaking through the haze. Her voice had shifted from anxious to decisive. Ethan had a disagreement with Marco on a research paper about a data security system, something potentially controversial. It seems Marco may have felt Ethan was undermining him. Sounds like their relationship was already on shaky ground, Jake observed. What about Marco? Any leads on how to get in touch? Yes, I found a forum where he is active, Lily replied, beaming with newfound confidence. We can reach out through there. The realization fueled Sarah's ambition. They weren't just analysts in this situation, they were detectives. Each digital breadcrumb was a part of a greater puzzle, and in piecing it together, she sensed a transformation within herself. This wasn't merely about saving Ethan, this was about asserting her role, taking charge, and redefining her identity against a backdrop of crisis. We're doing this together, Sarah assured her companions, locking eyes with Jake before turning to Lily. Whatever happens, we face it as a unit. Yet, somewhere deep inside, a sense of dread settled in her gut. What truths would Marco reveal? Would Sarah be able to navigate through the storm without losing pieces of herself? As they prepared to reach out to Marco, it dawned on Sarah that confronting him may also mean confronting the unspoken tensions and dynamics within their trio. Would she emerge as a stronger person, or would she risk losing everything she held dear? The air around them crackled with tension as they prepared for the impending confrontation, and the question echoed in her mind, was she truly ready for the revelations that loomed ahead? The moment hung in the air, a delicate balance of possibility and fear, as Sarah typed out the message to Marco on her computer. There was a trembling anticipation in her fingers, almost as if each keystroke was magnifying her anxiety. She wasn't merely reaching out for information about Ethan, she was taking ownership of a predicament that had begun to define her. Every action had consequences, and the weight of that responsibility pressed upon her. Do you think he'll respond? Lily's question broke the silence, revealing her own trepidation. I don't know, Sarah said, forcing herself to project confidence she was yet to feel completely. But we need to prepare for any outcome. If he responds, we need to know how to engage without letting personal feelings cloud our judgment. Jake nodded. Let us create potential scenarios. We should anticipate how Marco might react based on his past with Ethan. As they brainstormed responses, the gathering tension fed Sarah's resolve. Each scenario fueled her determination to be proactive rather than reactive. She envisioned a different Sarah, one unafraid of confrontation, a woman who could navigate conflict with calculated precision. It was a vision that occasionally felt like a distant dream, flickering just out of reach. If they uncovered the truth, it could strip away the comfortable layers of camaraderie among them. This fear both paralyzed and propelled her. Would the knowledge they sought bring them closer or rip them apart? The stakes had never felt higher, the hours dissolved into a blur of frantic planning and speculative discussions. Just as Lily was compiling a list of questions to ask Marco, an alert pinged on Sarah's screen. Heart racing, she glanced at the notification. Marco accepted their connection request on the forum, and her pulse quickened. This was their opening. What do we do now? Lily asked, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Now we send him a message, but let us be careful, Sarah replied, her protective instincts flaring up. We need clarity but also to ensure he feels comfortable enough to open up. Approach it from a friendly yet professional angle. As Sarah crafted the message, she found herself caught in a maelstrom of emotions. Beneath the urgency of finding Ethan, there lay questions about her own capabilities. This wasn't just about his disappearance, it was a quest for self-discovery that highlighted her willingness to step into discomfort. Finally, she hit send. The action felt significant, a bridge between fear and courage. The silence that followed felt heavy, yet liberating. She had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. while they waited for a response, Sarah took a deep breath, allowing the stillness to settle within her. The trio's friendship had been built on trust, collaboration, and shared dreams, yet the foundation was about to be tested. She realized that her greatest fear wasn't the confrontation itself, but the possibility of revealing hidden fractures that might alter their dynamics forever. "Whatever happens," she urged, meeting Jake and Lily's eyes, "we maintain our unity. We can't let uncertainty drive a wedge between us." The warmth of their agreement fed Sarah's resolve, but apprehension still gnawed at her. Each second felt like an eternity as they awaited Marco's reply. Then, her phone chimed again, this time a direct message from Marco. The screen glowed as she opened it, revealing a simple greeting followed by a series of inquiries about Ethan's recent projects. Was it a sign of innocence, or a diversion meant to mislead? In that moment, Sarah understood that this was more than a search for Ethan. It was an exploration of her identity, a test of her values, and an opportunity for transformative growth. Just as she began formulating her response to Marco, a deep-seated awareness emerged within. This encounter could redefine everything. The stakes weren't just about bringing Ethan back. It was about discovering who she truly was when faced with life's uncertainties. As she prepared to respond, a single thought echoed in her mind: was she really ready to face whatever truth Marco had to unveil? The question hung as heavy as the world she was about to step into. The day dawned with a nervous clarity, the sunlight streaming into Sarah's modest home, casting soft shadows across the walls. It was a new morning, one suffused with an awareness that she had the power to shape her own destiny. After all the days spent untangling webs of doubt, she was finally ready to address the complexities that had enveloped her life for so long. Sarah stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of her crisp blouse, her heart racing not only with anticipation, but a newfound conviction. She had transformed from a sister overwhelmed by familial obligation to a woman prepared to embrace her own path. Today, she would confront not just the circumstances surrounding Ethan's disappearance, but also the confounding emotions tied to her marriage with Jake. The time for half measures was over. No more shying away from complexities, she had to dive in. As she stepped outside, the air was invigorating, and so was the fire inside her. She had come to understand that personal growth hinged on enduring discomfort, not running from it. Arriving at the cafe where they had agreed to meet, Marco felt surreal. The world bustled around her, but the noise faded as she focused inward, her intention sharpening. Jake and Lily were with her, embodying unwavering support, which equipped her with that extra layer of confidence. They were bonded by an unspoken promise: whatever emerged today would be met with collective strength. As Marco entered, the tension tightened around them. He was tall, with a guarded demeanor, and Sarah sensed the weight of his secrets. They settled into a corner booth, and Sarah wasted no time. "Thank you for meeting with us, Marco," she began, her voice steady. "We wanted to discuss Ethan." The small talk evaporated quickly, revealing a tidal wave of urgency beneath the surface. In the following moments, shaded by coffee steam and nervous anticipation, Marco began to unravel the events leading to Ethan's disappearance. He shared revelations that felt shattering, yet empowering. Marco disclosed that Ethan had been pulling at threads that connected to a far-reaching data theft conspiracy, a risk that ultimately placed him in jeopardy. "This kind of information is dangerous," Marco warned. "Ethan was in over his head. You need to know that he might have gone into hiding to protect you both." With each detail disclosed, Sarah felt as if the pieces of her life were finally aligning. She could practically feel the crust of fear crack, giving way to the potential of newfound clarity. "So, he did this for us?" Lily murmured, her voice laden with disbelief and gratitude. "He thought it would keep you safe," Marco affirmed, sincerity dripping from his voice. "But the cost may have been too high for him." As the weight of Marco's statement settled around them, Sarah felt the tapestry of her life shift. She realized this was more than about saving Ethan, it was about reclaiming her voice. In confronting Marco, she had also unearthed courage that had lain dormant within her, a righteousness to not only act for her loved ones but for herself, too. With Marco's insights, their strategies began to unfold, but Sarah understood it would require bravery and wisdom moving forward. Fueled by the urgency of their mission to find Ethan, she felt resolve harden inside her. She had faced shadowy depths with Jake, now she was prepared to take action. "Thank you for revealing this," Sarah concluded, locking eyes with Marco and solidifying the newfound alliance. "We'll figure this out together." For Ethan. As they exited, the sunlight felt warmer, reflecting the shift within her, a keen understanding that her growth coincided with those she loved. Jake remained steadfast at her side, a symbol of what they could achieve as partners. In the days that followed, the dynamic among them began to flourish. They coordinated with Marco, establishing pathways to gather more information while ensuring that no one was left behind. Each detail Samantha uncovered brought her closer to confronting not just the external threats but the internal rifts that had plagued her and Jake since they married. "Maybe what you said to Marco was true," Jake remarked one evening as they debriefed. "We need to face this as a unit. But more importantly, we also need to face what lies between us." The way he spoke struck a chord, resonating with the struggles shared during these harrowing times. "We're ready for that conversation," she replied, certainty blazing in her voice. "Let us confront our fears. We need to define who we are together." The transformation was palpable. Once regarded as a detour, their marriage had become a crucible of growth. Each conversation obliterated lingering fears, establishing a genuine connection they had been striving for. The puzzle pieces of their respective pasts began to interlock, creating a vivid mosaic of understanding and acceptance. Weeks later, as they gathered the final pieces leading to Ethan, Sarah stood at her school's faculty podium, addressing students and families on a day designated to celebrate triumphs. She had faced numerous challenges. She was a sister, a teacher, and a partner who had fought tooth and nail to redefine love and responsibility in her life. "I want to remind everyone that courage isn't just about confronting strangers," she articulated, her voice steady. "It's about embracing the truths within us and the courage to share those truths with each other. Only then can we navigate the tumultuous waters of life." Applause washed over the audience, but the greatest applause resonated within her. She had shifted from bearing burdens to celebrating personal agency. Echoes of doubt transformed to sounds of affirmation, revealing solid confidence in her choices. Later, at an intimate dinner with Jake, free of apprehension, they toasted to honesty, love, and the bonds that could genuinely endure hardship. In that moment, surrounded by candlelight and the soft twinkling of hope, Sarah realized she would achieve not merely for herself but alongside those who believed in the strength of vulnerability. "Here's to navigating life's uncertainties," Jake said, raising his glass. Together. They clinked their glasses, understanding this commitment meant far more than just facing fears. It embodied an authentic journey of growth and unwavering support. Sarah was home at last, not just in her heart, but in every facet of her life. She reflected on how adversity had shaped her, how she had conquered trepidations, and in doing so, had firmly established her life's direction. The future she envisioned didn't come furnished with guarantees, but it resonated with unshakable confidence. Together, they would move forward not as strangers bound by circumstance, but as partners unafraid of the journey that lay ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.